Hello and welcome to the Scandi Reviews Podcast. I'm Ben Ironside and joined with me is my lovely co-host.
Sam Much.
Um, so this is the podcast that you've all been, like 20 of you have been waiting for. We're just going to talk about films and about what we've been doing during lockdown, and then hopefully answer some questions from the lovely followers of Scandi Reviews.
Yeah, our first podcast, just because a lot of you don't know us very well, it's going to be a bit more... There's going to be a bit of getting to know us and talking about why we're into films and stuff like that. And then as the podcasts go on, we'll maybe have themes and stuff. Sort of what we're going for.
Then, as well as it goes on, we've got a few people we can do podcasts with, people we've met while running the page that we can get on and have their views on everything. So, will we start at the beginning of Scandi Reviews and tell everyone at home how it came to be?
Yeah. Alright, so Scandi Reviews started in February. I was just sitting in my bed and was like, you know what, I want to start reviewing movies because I was applying for a a film studies course in uni. So I was like, it would be some good practice to start my own account. And then I obviously knew Ben was just as into films as me. So I was like, Ben, do you want to do it with us? And then that day we put out our first review, which was Eraserhead. Looking back on it, it's like they're literally half the length as we do now. I feel like we've just sort of progressed quite a lot, which has been quite a fun thing to do.
Just for the folks at home, we decided we'd do the page while we were sat on a bus to get dinner in St Andrews. So that was fun.
It was just quite on a whim thing, because we keep saying, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and then more often than not it doesn't happen. But
that short film that's been in the works for a year.
We've had loads of short film plans and sketches that have just not come into fruition. So the fact that Scandi Reviews even exists is a bit of a miracle, to be honest.
And how you were saying with the how good the reviews have got, it's been really scary how good we've gotten at just been efficiently pumping them out. Because I had a look the other day, and my B-movie review was 4 paragraphs, and the biggest paragraph was the synopsis when I talked about a beast suing the human race, and now I'm talking about how Paris is actually a main character in films, and it's mental.
Yeah, I'm not wanting to think like, oh, I'm a great reviewer or anything, because I'm still pretty inexperienced, but it's just that sort of gradual improvement that we've got from doing this for a couple of months, and it sort of made me feel a lot better about going away to uni in a few months and hopefully doing this as a career. But yeah, alright, Ben, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Ben, but you didn't know that. I don't really know. I wanted to do...
What are you going to do?
I'm going to do a radio and podcasting course at college, and then hopefully go to uni and either make that the course that I study and go to study radio further, or switch to film, because I'm not quite sure which one I want to pursue.
Yeah. Well, this is a pretty good start for that, isn't it?
Blending the two. But also, it's kind of making me think actually doing this isn't going to help, because I'm going to love both of them and then not be able to switch.
That's not the worst situation to be in, to be fair. At least you know 2 things you want to do.
And also, I don't know, more things about me. I like Spider-Man.
As you can tell.
I don't. That's about it. I like films and Spider-Man, and that's about me. So.
Well, alright, me. Yeah. Well, I've been into films for as long as I can remember, but I sort of started to get serious about it a couple of years ago. I made my first short film last year, and I've done courses with the BFI and stuff just to sort of get into it, because I thought that I wanted to do film production in uni, so I applied for Edinburgh and Edinburgh Napier to do that. But then I got accepted onto Glasgow Uni to do film studies, and then having done Scandi Reviews for a few months before that, it sort of made me feel a bit like, yeah, this is like more what I want to do, I think. I think my dream would be to make films, but the more opportunities that I can have, the better, and I feel like I'd get more from a film studies course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm into all types of films. It sounds a bit of a cop-out answer, but I'll watch anything. My favourite film's French, and my favourite director Stanley Kubrick and stuff, so it's all over the place. But yeah, I'm just a bit of a film nerd, to be honest.
That's accurate. You're the film nerd, and I'm just watches a few comedies and thinks, you know what, I could write better than that.
I wouldn't say that.
You've done proper filmmaking with BFI, and we made my short film in an afternoon, where we made one of the actors late because he couldn't film with us for all of the afternoon, and then I got all hacked up in the editing.
You still haven't showed us that.
I know. I want to reshoot it so that it's actually a coherent film, because I had to absolutely destroy it in editing, because I had it prepared and it was like 12 minutes long, but then I looked at my email and it said it had to be 3 minutes long, and I was like, oh Jesus.
Oh no.
That's not good.
That's the worst.
So
I remember.
I just took out like the vital scenes and left in like a long take and then horrific dialogue that I wrote like the week before we actually shot it. So that was fun.
I love
it was
that.
Great.
It was quite a fun one to make though, even if it was like the most stressful experience.
The bloopers are funny. We could probably.
Oh yeah, I've got one of them. I've got two of them saved actually. They're really good. But I've made the same film twice. That's a thing. The first film I ever made, like a proper. I've done like little things before, but the first like serious thing I made was this sort of. How would you describe it? Like a dark. I
don't know. It's dark. It's definitely dark, but
Yeah, it's sort of like it. It makes you think that it's I made it in the style of a classic romance, but then like with a twist in the in the middle.
It's almost like
just to have a sort of like.
It's like a 4-minute long black comedy joke, because it sets up and then it's like, oh, this is going to be really sweet, and then at the end it's like, bam, the punchline is
I wasn't sure what to call it, but I feel like a really black comedy is like, even though there's no jokes, but the whole thing is sort of a gag in itself. I don't know, but yeah, so I made the first one, and that's what I applied for my BFI course. But then there was some stuff that I just really didn't like about it. So when was it? End of last year or start of this year?
This year. It was like
I think so.
January this year, because I had to get my phone like the next week. That's how I remember.
Oh yeah,
it.
but yeah. I tried to like reshoot the whole thing just to get like better takes, and I do think it turned out a lot better. This was to apply for my Edinburgh and my Napier courses, but the problem is that my laptop is just, it completely died on me.
God.
So I completed the whole thing. The laptop crashed. Every single file on my computer was corrupted. This was like the day before I was meant to submit it to Napier. So I had a massive panic attack.
Yeah.
And we even got like my dad's friend over, who's like this tech guy, and he was like, well, you could do this, but it would take ages. I'm like, I literally don't have the time. So I ended up just having to, I was like, okay, I'll just submit my first like draft of it that I made the year before. But the problem was that I had that saved on my computer, so that file was corrupted. So I ended up having to rip it off YouTube, because luckily I uploaded there, and then just...
Yeah, you had to plagiarize your own film.
Yeah, pretty much. But eventually I managed to sort of, for Edinburgh Uni, I managed to get everything back together, so it wasn't like a big deal. But man, that was like the most stressful thing.
I had kind of a similar thing with my short film, but it's not that my laptop died on me. It was just that it's still on Windows 7 and it was really slow and clunky. So I was downloading just the files, and it took like 3 hours for the files to download, and we only had 20 minutes of footage. And then when I got into it, I was trying to download songs so I could use in the scenes, and I just took far too long. And then while I was rendering it to send them it, I think it was the night before, I just put it onto render, and I thought, you know what, it'll be fine if it's 8 hours after the deadline, because it said in the email no later than, I think, the 28th of January, and I submitted it the 29th. At 8 in the...
Was that alright?
No, it was bad, because I messed up the editing, because for one of the songs I just ripped it off YouTube, downloaded it and put it in, and then edited it together, but it was an MP4 file and not an MP3, so instead of just the song I had I think it was a John Lennon song, so I had like the plastic Ono Band album cover at the top and bottom and at the sides, while you and Jacob were walking down the street in the only decent shot of the entire film. So then I submitted it and it was fine, and I got an interview, but then I had to talk in my interview about how horrifically it went when I was filming it and editing it, and then I got rejected, so it didn't really matter. Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm sure there's some people watching who have like tried to make films before, because a lot of our audience and the people that know us are interested in film as well. And I'm sure a lot of you are listening to this and just being like, oh, what are you doing? But that's like, when it's your first film, it's like everything is a learning, it's a whole learning curve. I learned from that, from my experience, that I need to back up my files when I save them, especially when they're a full short film.
I learned that I need to be taught how to edit things, which is that was the main thing I took away from my short film, and I need to not write this script a week before I start shooting, otherwise the dialogue will be really basic and horrific, and I'll just be left with a bad film that I don't want to show to anyone. And also, not to count on the actors you get to play the parts, because you'll have to recast the day of shooting.
Oh yeah. Especially when it's something like, that was the frustrating thing about making my film, and it wasn't like the fault of the actors, but it's just like the way it worked, because we're all like finishing high school, and everyone's like so busy, so it was like, you were like, can we do this day, and then someone's like yeah, and someone's like no, and then eventually I think I finished my second draft of it in about 4 hours total. About maybe a bit more, but just because people were like, I can do this day, but I can only do 2 hours. And it's like, it's that sort of thing, especially when it comes to like, not even low budget filmmaking, but like no budget filmmaking, when
we had nothing,
when your actors are your friends.
I used Charlie's phone for my short film, because my phone broke. Like I think we shot it on the Friday, and I used your gimbal with my phone. Yeah. And then we had...
Oh yeah, and that died on us as well.
That died in one of the shots, and it just spun round and almost hit me in the face. But my phone broke on the Tuesday, and we were supposed to shoot on the Monday, but then that all got cancelled. So I was using Charlie's phone, and it was just an absolute nightmare, because then he had to send me the stuff through and put it on a cloud, which I had to then wait hours to download. It was fun.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that can go wrong, and you've got to prepare for everything going wrong, so you don't just panic when you're there. Like, I made the mistake of expecting like, oh, people will be able to do this, but then you think when you're doing it, you think nobody understands how important this is to me, but it's not that. It's that people have things that are just important to them, so you can't expect
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you know
I
what I
know what you
mean?
mean. And as well, if
Like
people cancel on you, then you have to go around all of your friends just to see if you can replace it, just not to burden the other people that you're relying on, so that
did you not make it into like was your story not who was
it
it
was, I
originally?
can't remember the names, but it was supposed to be you and Holly that were in the relationship, and then she said on the Monday I was walking up the stairs to go to drama, and she just turned to me and she was like, "Oh, I can't film at all this week," and I was like, "Oh, sick, cheers."
Yeah,
So then
yeah.
I
So
had
you
to
basically
recast, which was actually turned out okay, because when I recast I was able to have Charlie in the film and then use his phone and his house to shoot in, which was
yeah
really good.
yeah. So me and our friend Charlie ended up
Yeah,
being in a relationship in
well,
it
a
instead of me and
failed
Holly,
relationship.
which is quite
It
fun
was. It
actually.
was the shooting part was fun, but the whole
Hmm.
pre-production and then post-production was just an absolute mess.
See, I love
Yeah,
editing. I don't know why.
yeah,
It's like sometimes it fails on you because like my software is good, but my laptop
yeah,
can't run it. But something about just taking these sort of raw pieces of footage that you think, oh, these are terrible, and then put them together, and then like fixing everything, it just feels so
yeah.
satisfying from it going from this awful, like disjointed
Mhm.
mess into like a film that you're quite
Yeah,
proud of.
I.
That was the same for our
Mhm.
BFI course. We made this film, and while we were making it, we were like, "Oh, this is just a mess, and nothing's gone
Yeah,
to plan." And then we got the final cut back last week, I
yeah,
think, and it just turned. It was actually really
yeah.
good. I was actually quite proud of what we did.
I think the problem
So it's
with mine was I was using terrible editing software on an even worse laptop, so that really threw
yeah,
me off. And I didn't know what transitions were until I started editing, because I edited it all together and I had the music perfectly cued, and then I hit play and I was like, "That's great, I can go to bed now." And then it just ran through, and there was nothing. It just felt like a moving slideshow with a few John Lennon songs in between, and then really badly written dialogue.
yeah. I remember I uploaded the film to YouTube, and this is how I learned about copyright
Oh
law because I
yeah,
had no
yeah,
idea before. And it just got claimed like five
yeah,
times because I was using old like 30s love
yeah.
songs to sort of fit with the theme, and it just it
Mm.
didn't work just because. But I think I ended up finding 30s love songs that like ran out of like the copyright
Yeah.
ran out. So I actually managed to get like real songs in it without
Mhm.
getting claimed, which was quite good.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it felt really good to not
Mhm.
get claimed a million
Yeah.
times
I
by
think
YouTube.
I'll have to use
That was great.
royalty-free music when we reshoot it and actually make it good.
Yeah, half of mine was royalty free as well.
Because we had a look when I wrote that script for the Scandi Boys, like the introduction of the Scandi Boys. Um,
That's our
yeah.
Scandi Boys is
Sorry, I
our
should have clarified that. This is just a chat now. This isn't even a podcast.
yeah, Scandi Boys is our me, Ben, and our friend Charlie started this. It was like a sketch group,
We
but
haven't
we
done
haven't
any
done anything
sketches. We
yet.
just decided we were in Hull, I think. Customs in Hull, waiting to get
Yeah,
back into the UK after we'd been to France on a school trip, and we just, because we'd watched Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping, uh,
the
yeah,
Andy Samberg film.
and we were like, you know what, we can do that, and we can do it better, because we were naive and like 16, and then we thought, yeah,
I mean, you never know. We
we
could still
could,
do it
yeah,
better.
we should. We've got Dip to film, and
Yeah, Dip was a sketch that we came up with, and it was so stupid,
it
but
was
it's
so
just
good
quite
because
funny.
we agreed to film one night, we've gone off topic already, but this is great. We were walking to the where we were going to film, and then we just started spitballing ideas, and we decided, yeah, sure, let's make it about two hillbillies, and that's all the plot details you're getting, because it's coming soon. As soon as lockdown restrictions are
Yeah.
lifted, and we can get the boys to the beach to film, we'll be fine.
Yeah, just don't expect high art if you
It's
do
just-
watch it.
It's chef's kiss.
It's just, it's dumb
Yeah.
fun, but I loved it when we were filming it.
Yeah.
But lighting got the better
Oh
of
yeah,
us.
that was horrific. I put charcoal on my face for nothing, just for Charlie to get shouted at and then be sent home.
Should we get into some questions? We'll do a couple of questions and then we'll do something else, then do some more questions. Yeah.
If my phone will load.
We've got like loads of questions from Snapchat and on our poll on
Yeah.
Instagram, so we'll sort of go through them intermittently as the podcast
And if you
goes
don't
on.
follow our
I
Instagram,
think.
then why not? Because it's our
Also, if
it's
you
our
don't
main
follow our
thing,
Instagram, why are
yeah.
you here?
That's really silly. Okay, I'll just go. Thoughts on streaming v theaters. I had to think about this question, and I've got a few thoughts, but I'll let you take the floor first.
No, you take it first. You
Okay,
take it
because
first.
I think streaming is really good, but it doesn't and never will beat the feeling and atmosphere of being in a cinema. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it just gives you such a range of incredible films to watch. Because if it wasn't for Amazon Prime, then I would never watched Midnight in Paris and Once, which just in the past week have changed my life because I watched them. But
Oh, Once
Yeah.
was amazing.
yeah, we should dedicate an entire episode to that film. Um, but at the same time, Endgame was just such an experience, and if it hadn't been for the cinema and being at the cinema to watch it, then it wouldn't have been anywhere as close to what it was. If it had just been slapped, if actually all the MCU films, if they'd just been slapped on Disney Plus and they'd said, right, here's your superhero films, then there wouldn't be as much of a buzz and
Yeah,
experience.
I mean it's the scope of it,
Yeah.
isn't it? You can't experience that on a laptop.
Yeah.
I've got quite strong
Yeah.
opinions on this
Okay.
as well, going both ways, because I feel like before lockdown happened, I was very strongly pro like cinema,
Yeah.
like doing like watching films in the cinema, and I still am. I think if you have the opportunity to watch a film in the theater, then you have to, because the atmosphere and the feel of it is just so much better, and it, especially independent cinemas, because it's important to keep them
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get to watch more sort of like lesser known or low budget or foreign films that need supported in like a Cineworld
Yeah.
or something like that.
Because our local cinema, which is still quite far away, is an independent one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
unless-
I think the problem with that one though is it's mainly blockbusters. Because it's such a small market that there's not going to be a huge market of people to
Yeah.
watch more like lesser known movies. When I go to Glasgow, I want to try and get a job at the Glasgow Film Theatre
Yeah.
because, well, one, I'd be able to watch free movies probably. But the main thing is it's just experiencing working there and like just but because I've been to places like that and the Cameo, and they play so much more like interesting and like a wide variety of films. They play the blockbusters, but they also play like the foreign film that you wouldn't have heard about if it
Yeah.
wasn't for it. But I think overall, just the atmosphere and the scope of working in the cinema. I mean, watching a film in
Yeah.
the cinema is just so much better. But there's some things that wouldn't get any attention if it weren't for streaming
Yeah, I don't
platforms.
think Marriage Story would have had as much attention if it hadn't been on Netflix. Because that
I don't know.
well, no, I just think
Maybe,
because
but
Netflix released it and then everyone was like, oh, Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, I love those two actors, I'll watch it. and then more people did that, and it just got more and more buzz. I haven't actually seen it, but I'm sure it's good. I should probably watch that soon.
It is, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. I don't know. I feel like it's more films like you see all of the weird foreign films. Like I don't particularly like this one, but The Platform got so
Yeah.
much buzz like a month or two ago. That wouldn't have got any attention, I think, if it was just a cinema
Yeah.
release. But the fact that Netflix had the rights to it meant that so many people were exposed to it, which is great for films like
Yeah.
that. I think a lot of people are reluctant to go to the cinema, which I think if you can, then you
Yeah.
must, just because it's such like a great experience every time. But for the people that can't, or they live far away from a cinema, or they don't have enough money, like things like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu,
Yeah.
and that are such a savior to those people because they can watch so much more movies than they could if they were just buying DVDs or
Yeah,
whatever.
because before Netflix was huge, the closest thing that I had in St Monans to streaming was like a bin of movies you could rent at the Spar, and that was it. And then whatever DVDs my mum and other people in my family had, but that was
Yeah.
it. Or you'd have to go to Glenrothes or St Andrews, and well, not St Andrews, probably not, Dundee, and then buy movies.
I remember before Netflix was a thing, like a
Yeah.
big thing at least. Well, I'm lucky because my family's got a huge DVD
Yeah.
collection, just because my dad likes to collect movies as well. But we used to get our films from that, and even before that, my parents would. This is illegal. Don't do it. But when movies on like TV was a big thing, they would like record it onto a CD or like a
Yeah.
blank disc. So we've got like loads of them. Don't do
Yeah.
that. It's not allowed.
And for any law people out there, it wasn't Sam that did that, so don't shut us down.
It was not me. I'm
Yeah.
innocent. I'm innocent. But we used to go to Blockbuster as well before that
Yeah.
shut down.
No,
I think there was a Blockbuster. Where was it? Like Glenrothes or
I don't
something.
know. The closest to Blockbuster I've ever been was like in the Spar. It was just it was first it was a bucket of DVDs, and then they had a screen of stuff you could rent. And when I'd go with my mum, I'd always say, "Oh, Mum, can we get a film?" And she'd be like, "No, because you're gonna want Spider-Man, and we've got that at home."
Oh yeah, yeah. I was so sad when Blockbuster shut down because I have so many
Yeah.
fond memories of going there when I was like 9 years
Yeah.
old and just picking out films and games to get.
I-
I remember the days when Netflix was a rental
Yeah, I
service.
didn't know that until I watched
Like-
the US Office.
Yeah,
And we're talking about.
we used to get Netflix movies posted
Oh
to
my
us.
God.
I know it feels so weird because it feels like there hasn't been a time before Netflix, but there has, and I very much
Yeah.
experienced it. But now that it's here, it just feels like it's never not been here.
I
That's
don't
weird.
remember. I can't remember when Netflix was, when it got big, because it was just like, one day I was just watching films on Sky like everyone else did, and then the next day Mum was like, "Ben, look at this incredible app with all the films you'll ever want to watch in one place."
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember getting Netflix for the first time, and it was like, oh my god, we can just watch these. I've always preferred the cinema, but like, Netflix it opens up so much
Yeah.
more. I think on the subject of streaming versus theatre, they've both got their upsides. I'm a cinema person, but both have such, like, they're different,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, there's some films that I wouldn't pay to see in the small screen, probably. Although, to be honest, at this point, I'll just watch anything I can.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just considering how little movies are in
Yeah.
St Andrews, but yeah,
We need
I think that pretty much
We need
answers
this-
that one.
pandemic to be over, because the last film I watched was Joker,
Oh, yeah.
and I can't leave it like that. I can't go off to college and then have the last film I saw in a cinema be Joker. I have strong opinions on that. We'll get to that soon, hopefully. Shall I move on to another question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to find a good one. Name a film that inspired you to become a reviewer.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know
Yeah.
which film mainly inspired me. The
Shining.
Shining. I think because I've always been into movies, but I've always been like, oh, that was a good film. But after I watched The Shining became my favorite movie after I saw it. It's not anymore, but it's still like one of the few movies that I'd give a 10 out of 10. And it's the first film that I studied after I watched it. For like the first year after I watched it, I was obsessed with just finding out every little fact like that you could find out about The Shining. It's like I know I know so much Shining trivia. Like, oh, here's one. Did you know that the layout of The Shining, the hotel overlooking the Overlook Hotel, sorry, in The Shining, doesn't actually make sense if you laid it out. Like, there's windows leading into different walls, and there's doors leading to nowhere. And Stanley Kubrick did that deliberately to throw people off and make people feel uncomfortable subconsciously. That kind of stuff, just like.
I wouldn't have known that if you hadn't just.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. You don't know it, but your mind knows it. Your subconscious knows it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the film that I first was obsessed with, and I think like made me look at films in a different way. That's what I'd say for me. How about you?
I've got a couple because one film that made me think, you know what, I should probably start reviewing films was Spider-Man 2 because at work
Yeah.
I talked to one of the waitresses about how perfect it is, and then I just drone on about. I'm talking about him a lot. I'm sorry, he's over my shoulder as well. But I just talk about Spider-Man films and Spider-Man for hours at work, and I'm certain everyone got sick of it to the point where I just thought,
that was like me with The Shining. I bothered my parents all of our holiday
my
last
God.
year. Just like, did you know this? Did you know this? Yeah.
And then Reservoir Dogs was one that kind of just it blew me away, the fact that the first feature film of a new director could be that incredible. And it was a film that I watched, and then I was like, you know what, I'll do a film club at school, which never took off. No one ever came to it except my friends, and
I would have. I couldn't go that day. I was annoyed. I really wanted to go as well. I was gonna help run it, but then I realized it like
And then I had
clashed.
to like make these not even lessons, just I had to talk about aspects of filmmaking, and then it just clicked. I was like, you know what, I'll make films. I'll be the next Judd Apatow.
Yeah, we'll have one more
Okay.
question, then we'll just do a bit of chat, and then we'll.
There are a few. There's like one that isn't actually to do with film, and I don't want to do that, but I think I might have to. So it's, if you could travel back in time, when would you go?
Have you got an answer?
I've been thinking about this all day. I'm not sure. It would be the 20th century. I can't decide which decade, and then I can't decide which year it would be once I decide on a decade.
I think. Okay, I've got an answer. I think I would choose. When was the Beatles rooftop? Was that 1970 or
It's
1969?
one of them. I'll check. Certainly it was
I've been obsessed with the Beatles
1969.
since I was like 4 years old. I think it was 69,
So
but
it was
I'm not sure.
rooftop. Yeah, it was the 30th of January, 1969. I'm pretty sure the 30th of January
Yeah.
was when you finished the reshoot of First Date.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
That-
that
it's
that
just
date's
fate.
just stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I think if I would go back anywhere just to like experience
Yeah.
something, off the top of my head it would be the Beatles rooftop performance, just because I've been obsessed with the Beatles for my entire life, and that would have been just such an amazing thing to experience. That would be mine.
I think I've got two, and there's one that I know is a joke, but also is not, which is whatever year they were looking for people to play Harry Potter, I could audition, but I'd have to go back in time and then like kidnap me from another time. No, I'm not kidnapping kids, I'm kidnapping myself.
Wait, so you're going back, like 6 years ago, kidnapping 12-year-old you,
Yeah. No,
and then
I'm not
taking
doing
12-year-old you to like 2001 or
that.
whenever
Yes.
Harry
Well, no,
Potter was.
but I don't know how this time travel works, because if I travelled back in time and then I could also age myself back, I'd go back to like 11 years old and audition for Harry Potter, and then I'd be famous in the
Yeah.
future.
I mean, yeah.
I'd have to go with Beatlemania, like the peak before they started doing acid and stuff.
See, post-acid Beatles are better than my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, but I just want to be about the buzz, everywhere.
Yeah. See, I was thinking about that, but I was between like, because I think if I could go back and experience anything, it would be the Beatles, because they've been such a huge part of my life. But I was thinking like, would I go to experience Beatlemania or would I go to experience the Rooftops? And I figured, if you go see a Beatlemania concert, you can't hear them.
Yeah, that's fair, because you're not going to hear them.
And also, I prefer the
Twisting
music. I just want to hear them play "Don't Let Me
that's
Down."
such a good song.
Such a good song. I've got a John Lennon poster.
I've got one
in my
there,
room.
but my light's kind of blocking him out. But he's there. I had a John Lennon T-shirt on as well, but it said the exact same thing that it says on my poster.
That would be a bit
Yeah.
too much. Oh yeah, I just that would be my dream, just to see the Beatles live. All right, how about one more?
Yeah, because this is quite fun.
Yeah. I quite like answering questions.
Most overhyped movie ever to be released.
Ever?
I think I've got an answer for this, but it's actually not been released yet. And it's all the Avatar sequels.
I was gonna say the first
Well,
Avatar.
no, because I don't even think I've watched Avatar.
I've
I
watched
know-
it 3 times, I think.
I'm just not gonna like it, because
I'd go into it with an open mind.
yeah, that's probably a good idea. But from what I can tell, it's just really forgettable, and you don't know any of the characters' names. And now that they're just, after how many years, like 11 years, saying, yeah, we're gonna do like 4 more films, it's been far too long for me.
I feel like you can leave a sequel a long time, but I'm just not interested,
Yeah,
to be honest.
I know, because it came out of nowhere, and it was after Endgame was released. They were like, oh yeah, we're gonna release all the Avatar films, make an cinematic universe.
Yeah. I feel like if I was thinking about, when I'm thinking about overhyped movies, I'm thinking about like the most hyped movies, and you think about like Endgame, and
I think
like, all the Avengers ones. No, but I don't think that's overhyped. I really liked Endgame, but I'm thinking about like movies that were hyped up that much, and then my next thought after Endgame would be Avatar, just because they're two like the 2 highest grossing movies of all time, and I really enjoyed Endgame, and I thought it deserved the hype, even though I'm not like a huge superhero movie fan. It was just a great film, but Avatar, it's just not my kind of thing.
It's like it's Pocahontas, but everyone's blue. I didn't really like Pocahontas.
I get the hype, because when it was released, especially, was it like 2009? I can't remember. It was like the most visually stunning movie, like CGI wise, ever. So I understand if you watch it in the cinema, then it would be breathtaking.
It was 2009 that it was released.
Yeah, but watching it, last time I watched it, it's like the visual sort of spectacle is removed a little bit. One, because you're watching it from home, and two, because there's been things that have overtaken it visual wise, I think.
I've only seen scenes of it, and probably like half an hour of it while it's been on E4. But it doesn't look that great now, because we've had beautifully shot and animated scenes, like the fight on Titan in Infinity War was just stunning. I'm going on about Marvel films a lot, and
That's
I'm kind of over the hype for Marvel films, but the CGI in them is incredible, and
I just feel like looking at it, I need to look at it from the time, and the visuals are spectacular in Avatar, but I'm not a huge CGI fan. Like when it comes to like thinking about what I prefer natural feeling films. But the main problem is that when you strip back the CGI, it's a weak story, and I don't think Sam Worthington was particularly special as the main role. And I just think when you think of it from now, when the visuals aren't as special, it's like it's just like a film. It's a bit of a dumb way to end it, but that's just what I feel.
I think I can't really think of any other overly hyped films. But the live action Lion King didn't really.
Oh, that was terrible.
It didn't really add much to an already perfect film. And actually, what it did put forward took away the perfection of the film, because with The Lion King you saw characters expressed in a way that they wouldn't have been able to if it was shot naturally. And it just, when you strip away the Beyonce singing, Childish Gambino phoning it in, it looks like a nature documentary, and it's just really bland.
That was my problem, my main problem at least, because it's just undeniably, like, the CGI is incredible. It's like maybe the best CGI I've ever seen, but the problem is that they've had such a focus on it being realistic that it ruins a lot of the charm. Like, one thing that I noticed immediately when watching it, the main one was Scar's song. In the original, it had all these, like, the green plumes of smoke. And in this one, it's because they can't do that, because it has to be realistic. They just shot it at night, and it's all dark and dingy.
He's just singing on a ledge about how they need to be prepared, because the hyenas are coming.
It was boring, and I thought Beyonce was a bit rubbish. Donald Glover is great, but he didn't try.
If Beyonce had just been there for the singing, and they'd got a voice actress in to do her lines, or actually just teach her how to voice act, then it would be fine. But it's the fact that she's just flaccidly saying lions attack.
One thing I did really like, lions attack. That's my favourite line in the film.
That was my favourite.
One of the things I did like about it was Timon and Pumbaa. I thought their chemistry was brilliant. I can't remember, was it Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner. Billy Eichner especially.
He was incredible. And as well the hyenas, they were pretty good.
Yeah. I do like wait, what's the little bird called?
Zazu.
Yeah, Zazu doesn't really match up to the original, but I do still really like John Oliver as a voice actor.
I miss Rowan Atkinson. He was incredible.
No one can do it like
he brought so much life to a really annoying, uptight bird.
Yeah. For any non-British people, Rowan Atkinson is a national treasure, and we love him. We all love him over here.
So if you're going to stan anyone and put fan cams, just spam us with fan cams in our DMs of Mr. Bean fan cams, please.
Speaking of it, Rowan Atkinson, imagine having Mr. Bean, Blackadder, and Johnny English under your belt. Like, talk about a big three of, like, insanely good characters.
I don't know if anyone can really match
That's
up.
like as good as you get.
Morgan Freeman played God. But, God versus Mr. Bean, I'd have my money on Mr. Bean.
I'm sorry, aren't they the same thing?
Yeah, that's why I'm putting my money on Mr. Bean. They're just obliterate him with his mini.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's amazing.
Love Brian.
Yeah.
Can't believe we've gotten to the topic of Mr. Bean.
Oh, that's what podcasting does.
I'm quite enjoying these questions.
Should we do more?
Yeah, all right, I've got one from Charlie. Charlie asked us, what are some of the movies that give you the most sort of feels when you're watching it, like
Oh.
emotional wise?
I think, Endgame made me really emotional, but that was just because in the lead up to it, I watched all the films, and I was just like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And then because of the ending, and if you don't want a year-old film to be spoiled that everyone in
It's
the
too
world
late
saw,
now. There are
Iron Man
spoilers.
dies.
No.
Iron
Yeah,
Man dies,
there you
and
go.
that broke me. And then Captain America went back, and that was what actually broke me more,
Oh
because
yeah, that got me.
Captain America's finally happy.
I never liked Captain America originally. Like, I didn't like the first Captain America movie at all, and as a result, I never watched The Winter Soldier until a couple months ago. Winter Soldier's great, but the first Captain America just didn't work for me.
I think the first bit of it, when it's just a character study of Steve Rogers, up until it's just like a really strong man running after a red-faced man. It's like
I like
two
the
completely different movies. If they just kept it as a
Mhm.
character study and then maybe ended it with him being frozen,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
had so much character building and character study of Steve Rogers, then I would have been fine with it. But it feels very flaccid.
I feel like that was a problem with a lot of the first Marvel movies, that they were too focused on getting this huge villain and just wherever they could. Like what was his name, like Red Skull or something? I didn't like him. I didn't care about him, and then when he came back, when he was guarding the Infinity Stone, I didn't know who he was until someone explained it to me, because I just forgot about him
I
completely.
can't even remember what Toby Jones' character's name was in the first Avenger, but when he came back in The Winter Soldier, that was really good, because it made it quite personal, and the MCU films all seem a lot more personal.
I feel like they've gotten better and better at knowing what people want as it goes on. Because I feel like they appeal to a lot more people now, because you have those big fights, but you also have those intimate moments, which is the stuff that I really like. Like, I'm not an action movie fan personally. Like, I'd rather much choose like an interesting plot-driven drama over an action movie. It's just personal preference though. But like, that's why I really love the sort of character development in the Marvel movies, just because I feel like it's done so well.
Yeah, Civil War's... Did I say that right? Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the peak of Marvel films, because it's just... It's a
yeah.
political drama with all your favourite superheroes punching each other in the middle. And then it's
it has
the
those
destruction
fights,
of a
but also,
friendship while men in tights and flying about in robotic suits are flying about.
That movie was what started to win me over to Captain America. In Infinity War, he became my favourite character, I
In
think.
Infinity War, I think he became every human's favourite character.
Yeah. Because it's Captain America, at the start, I was like, well, why am I supposed to care about this guy? He's not for us, really. But then you just forget that he's like meant to just be an American patriot, and he's just like a great character. I think all the characters are so well written. The fact that they managed to make you care so much about like the biggest ensemble cast imaginable, pretty much, is insanely impressive.
They made you feel empathetic for an impulsive billionaire playboy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you feel the same empathy for a man who threw everything away to fight for his country. And it's incredible. But I think people don't like Captain America for the same reason they don't like Superman. And it doesn't really annoy me, but it annoys me to an extent that people don't like Superman, because
I don't like
know,
Superman
I know,
much.
and that's what makes me really, it gets me really riled up that people don't like him, because people can say he's boring, but he's the quintessential. I think that's a word that I'm
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
stupid to say, but he's the quintessential superhero, because he doesn't just, in every comic, he isn't just punching bad guys in the face, punching like huge villains. There's a really good mini comic, I think it's called Superman in the Jumper, where he goes up, because there's a jumper on a ledge, and the police chief says to him, "Hey Superman, can you go get her down?" And he's like, "No, but I'll go talk to her." And then he talks to her, and she's like, "Look, if you stop me from jumping off, then I'm just going to come back up, and then I'll jump off, and you won't be able to save me eventually." So then they talk about it, and he saves her life, not by taking her out of the bad situation she's already in and putting her down with the police. He just has a heart to heart. And the fact that an alien that wears blue tights and red underwear over his blue tights with a silly little cape can have such an effect in a fictional universe and make me so angry on Earth that people don't like a superhero is good.
I don't dislike Superman as a character, but I don't like the fact that if need be, he can do anything. Like I it's not that I don't like the way that he's explored. I don't like the way. It's not that I don't like the way that he's like portrayed. I just don't like the. It's the same with Captain Marvel, except I dislike Captain Marvel as a character just because I think it was a bit of a
It was a
they just
massive
sort of shoved her in.
as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it just felt like Captain Marvel's never there, and then she suddenly shows up and does everything that she needs to do.
I think it helps show the humanity of Superman, that he is unstoppable, and he knows that he's unstoppable, so he just does whatever he can to save the everyday person.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just far too into superheroes that I get riled up about Superman, but I don't know.
I just prefer flawed. Like my favorite superhero movie is probably Logan.
Yeah.
Just because it just feels like a gritty western, where he's not really the good guy. He's just like. I don't know. It just feels a lot. I like grounded films, and Logan just really, really worked for me.
Spider-Man 2, which is it's in my top 5 favorite films. That's a romance film with Spider-Man hopping about New York City fighting a man with bionic arms.
Yeah, I always like the Spider-Man
works.
films.
I think I prefer the Sam Raimi ones to John Watts' MCU films.
I don't know. I like both. We'll not talk about Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not as huge.
Well, the first one has its you know.
It's not bad.
It's just not.
But it's just not great, and I don't think Andrew Garfield was a great fit.
I think he was a good. He was a good Spider-Man, but a terrible Peter Parker.
I agree. He was too cool.
People say he's too hot to be Peter Parker, which he's not, because in none of the comic runs, Spider-Man's never been an ugly boy.
I don't think it's that he's ugly. I just think it's that Spider-Man's meant to be like a socially awkward teenager.
He's too cocky and edgy, and he skates, which was to pander to millennials. And that was a leaked email that someone at Sony sent. They were like, "Yeah, we need to get the bloody millennials on board with Spider-Man."
Yeah.
When most millennials like him.
Out of the three of them, my favourite Spider-Man, not necessarily my favourite Spider-Man films, but my favourite Spider-Man is Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Just because I think he has the
big... Sorry, I completely cut you off there.
No, carry on.
Big films where he's with all the other Marvel characters to interact with. I just don't like the way John Watts exploring Spider-Man in the MCU.
I don't like how they're making him like Iron Man. Because I like Spider-Man so much because he's like the friendly neighborhood
Yeah.
Spider-Man. That's what I like about it. Which I really loved Homecoming. It was one of my favorite films of that year. But Far From Home I enjoyed. But my worry is that he's getting too much, that they're setting up to be Iron Man, which I don't want.
I'm very hopeful that they'll strip it back to him just being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the third one, because obviously
Because I don't need there
he's
to be
been
big
revealed
villains.
to the public.
I hope that the third film is going to be how, like, more focused on how that's dealt with. Like
If they
now that he's been
if
exposed.
they just dismiss it completely, then I think I might just give up with Spider-Man.
My worry is that they'll sweep it under the rug in the first 20 minutes because that's what often happens. But I just want that.
They've dismissed a lot in like the MCU Spider-Man, but they dismissed Aunt May finding out that he's Spider-Man, which is acceptable, but as well
I don't mind
they
that
don't
as much,
mention Uncle Ben at all, and that kind of really annoys me.
Yeah.
Because he's such a big part of the Spider-Man lore, and maybe I'm just a really big nerd, but if you don't have Uncle Ben, then essentially you don't have Spider-Man.
Yeah, I get that.
You don't have his motivation to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I know what they were going for with like Iron Man, but it's not.
I think
the
it's
same.
just more to get it to fit into the
Yeah,
MCU.
but just show me
really.
an old grey-haired man getting capped in the middle of the street when Spider-Man could have intervened and stopped it, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
flashback, little Tom Holland's coming out of a wrestling ring, and then Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, hopefully.
Yeah.
No, Uncle Ben. Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man.
Mm.
As Uncle Ben just gets capped. And I'll be fine with that. I'll be content.
Yeah, movies that hit me in the feels. That was the
the
question.
question. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but you've said MCU. I would like to throw in 1917.
That's fair. Yeah, you've
97. It might see it. Some people will understand it, and some people will be like, "What? How did this have such a big effect on you?" But when watching it in like widescreen in the cinema, I had such a visceral reaction to it. I said about it in my review, but it was one of my first reviews, so it wasn't very good.
Oh.
But
sorry.
I just remember crying for like 20 minutes after it was finished. I couldn't control it. I don't know why. It was just like, I feel like some people call the one shot thing a gimmick, but I thought it worked for me so well. It just felt like I was there, and it made all their hardships seem so much more real. Like, I get why it doesn't work for some people, but for me it just enhanced it so much. Other ones that affected me a lot, I don't know if you've seen Detroit.
No, I need to.
It was about the Detroit riots, and it's a bit controversial because it's, and I get the controversy because it's so much to do with like racism, and it's like, I'm pretty sure the director, well, Catherine Bigelow is obviously white, and the writers are all white, which not the best look. I would have chosen like someone like Ryan Coogler to direct that. I think he would have done a great job with it. But that aside, I feel like because Catherine Bigelow is such a good like action director, like she managed to make every sort of like moment of violence seem so real. It just hit me so hard because it's just such a horrible thing, and now you sort of see that coming back now. It's just so, it'll be. I want to go back and watch it now. It will just be even harder. It's a brilliant film. I think it's not everyone's cup of tea, but, and for the same reason, Black Klansman got me at the end. That was brilliant, And then you get all your soppy romances that always make me cry. I cry a lot in films.
I want to throw out as well, Once, because that just absolutely destroyed me. I watched that. I can't even remember what I was doing, but I was just sat at my desk, and I was like, you know what, I'll go on Amazon Prime and see if there's anything good. And then I saw Once, and I was like, you know what, I'll just stick it on. Sam's reviewed it, and I've listened to Falling Slowly, and then I watched it, and I thought, that's a good film. And then I watched it again, and turned the volume all the way up just so I'd experience all of it instead of just half watching it like I had the first time, and then it just absolutely destroyed me. Like the scene, I think I might cry now, but the scene where she says, "No, I love you," and even though
in Polish, wasn't it?
I think it's Czech, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, Czech. Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't know. I had to look in Wikipedia.
But yeah,
after
he
it,
couldn't understand.
But you can't understand it, but you know what she's saying. And I don't know, it just hit really close to home, although it shouldn't have, because I've never experienced that. But as well, because it was so low budget, it felt so real. Like I wasn't even watching a film. I was just looking into two people's lives.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending, but I just thought the ending was perfect as well.
Yeah, because I had a look on the Wikipedia page, and I saw that they were completely on board with the ending, and that if it had went another way, then they wouldn't have been as happy.
I just think it wouldn't have worked as well any other way. If you haven't seen it, you've got to watch it.
It's
basically
on Prime
it's so
Video.
good. Yeah.
So give it a watch, fellas.
The songs are great as well because they're all musicians. They aren't actors as well, which makes it all the more impressive.
And that as well makes it feel so real, because the dialogue was just the two of them with a little bit of direction, saying
they're just like riffing off each other so well, and they've got like that little bit of awkwardness, and it works perfectly. And just it's so low budget, and I'm pretty sure it was filmed on 2 camcorders,
with
just like on the streets.
Permits to film. They just
exactly. It's
filmed
just like
people in the street.
Yeah, it was pretty much like just guerrilla filmmaking, and it works so well, and it just feels so natural. I was drawn in the first like song when he was basking.
Sorry, I'm not sure what sentence I was trying to form there, but I agree with you. The songs are incredible, and when he's on the bus singing about I think the song is titled "The Heartbroken Vacuum Fixer Man" or something. I'll have a look.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, shall we do another question? Because we've got quite a lot.
We do.
Okay, who is your favourite Insta account that mixes up movie quotes and scenes?
I think that's got to be Misquoted.
That was a question from Misquoted. So if you want to follow him, please do, because then maybe he might shout us out. But
it's a big account.
He's a very big account, and I'm very hopeful.
Get us to 500 followers, because we haven't been going for
Misquoted,
very long.
if you're watching this, and I know you won't be, but if you are, then if you get us to 500 followers, then we'll have you as the first guest. Okay, agreed?
Yes.
He's got a second question, which is, seriously though, what's your favourite underrated movie or movie that isn't well known?
Ooh. Underrated movie or movie that isn't well known.
Have
you got one? Because I need to think.
I don't really think it's not underrated, but a film that I think it gets far too much criticism is The Return of the Jedi. And I don't watch enough small films. I probably should. I've started by watching Once, but I'm trying to watch more. But I just think people hold the other Star Wars films up to such a high esteem that they think, oh yeah, Empire is the peak, but then everything else is bad. And I just think Return of the Jedi wraps everything up so well, and it's got some of the best action. No, it doesn't. It's got the best lightsaber battle in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few for mine. Something I think is underrated is Repulsion, which is pretty. It's not like super not well known because it's a Roman Polanski film. We hate Roman Polanski,
Yeah, we don't
by the way.
We don't
stand by him.
endorse.
Anything that he does, he's
He's made
got-
films,
got
and we
some
need
really
to
good
watch those
films.
films to get a deeper understanding of film. We're only doing this for our benefit,
Yes.
okay?
Repulsion is one of my favorite films, but I give credit to all of the writers, the cast, not the producers.
We want to make absolutely certain in this podcast, if you don't listen to anything else other than this, we do not endorse Roman Polanski.
or Woody Allen.
Yeah, or Woody Allen.
All those guys, but we do like their movies. Anyway, Repulsion. It's probably my second favorite horror movie after The Shining, and it's his first English language film, and it's about this. I think it's a Belgian girl in England, and she's got like extreme anxiety and a severe fear of men. She lives with her sister, but her sister goes away on a holiday with her boyfriend. So she's left in this apartment on her own. Throughout the film, we only see in between her home and her work, and like the journey between, and the journey between is always so stress inducing because she keeps getting like talked to by people, and in the end she ends up just staying at home because she's too afraid to go outside, and she just goes absolutely crazy. And it's some of the best like examples of practical effects, like arms reaching through walls. It's so like artistically great, and it's probably the most like involved I've been with the film, because I was completely like in its like under its spell. It sounds weird, but I was watching it on my TV in my room, and I ended up standing up without realizing it. When the film finished, I was like a foot away from the screen. I didn't even notice myself standing up. What's
I feel
another
like
underrated
I've
one?
given a really bad answer, but I'll watch a lot more films by the next podcast episode, and then we'll maybe revisit that question just to see if our opinions have changed.
I've got one more though. Actually, no, I've already done a review of it, so I won't. Most of the like not well known ones, like or underappreciated ones, I've already reviewed that I've watched recently. Like I was gonna say Me and Her and the Dying Girl, which isn't like not well known, but it's just brilliant. And films like Night Watch aren't super well known, but they're definitely worth checking out. But I've already reviewed them all, so you can just check out the reviews. Should we do another question?
Okay, sorry, no. Which film or films do you feel had the best cast?
Oof.
And now I think there's two ways we could interpret that question: as the best
Let's see.
cast film, like the actors in the film that fit the role perfectly, or like the prestige of actors in the film. And we could give answers for both.
Okay. I'll throw one into the ring for prestige. Off like the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind is the Philadelphia Story, which is, I can't remember what it's from. It's like from the late 40s, early 50s. It's got 3 people, so it's not like a huge ensemble cast, but the 3 people are 3 of the greatest actors ever. It's got James Stewart, who's my favourite actor of all time, Cary Grant, who's amazing, and Katharine Hepburn. I think if you're going for like 3 people, then you can't get much better than them 3. That would be the first one I think of. What about you?
I'm not actually sure. I'm actually trying to think.
It's hard because you think about ones like, obviously you've got stuff like Avengers and Endgame and that, just because there's so many people.
Yeah, because I was thinking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that's got most of the actors working at the moment.
Yeah.
But as well, I think based on the prestige of the actors, I think I could throw out no, is it The Irishman or Irishman?
The Irishman.
Yeah, I thought it was that. I just wasn't sure, and I don't want to make myself look like an idiot on a podcast. But I think that's just as perfect as a mafia story, because the three four, because it's Jesus, Al Pacino, De Niro, Joe Pesci.
Who's the other one? I can't remember. I haven't.
Wait, oh no, it is three, isn't it?
I think there's three main ones. I might be forgetting. Yeah. Same with stuff like Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, because it's just
De Niro, Pesci, and then can't remember his name.
I was thinking of Scorsese, but he's not an actor. I just thought Joe Pesci, De Niro, and Scorsese, because they're usually a package deal.
Ray Liotta.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Goodfellas. Ray Liotta. There's so many of those ones.
Yeah.
Well, there's another one for Pulp Fiction.
I was thinking that as well, because
John Travolta, Harvey Keitel, Sam Jackson,
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Wait, I've got the poster behind me. Christopher Walken. I forgot. Christopher Walken.
Thurman.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth is incredible.
That's a cast and a half.
Yeah, The Irishman's pretty good.
Yeah, there's loads of
Ray
examples.
Romano's in that, and it threw me off when I was watching it, because I was like, I'm pretty sure he's a funny man from TV, and he's playing a corrupt lawyer, and it just completely warped my perception of him.
Yeah, Stephen Graham appears in it as well, and he's like just a British actor, and I was like he's a really good British actor, but it's just weird seeing him in a Scorsese flick.
And as well, I didn't know Tim Roth was English until I watched Pulp Fiction, because I had seen him in Reservoir Dogs, and he's got a really good American accent in that.
Yeah.
Because most of what he does is scream in that, but it's really believable. And then I watched Pulp Fiction, and I thought, no, there's no way. I'm sorry if I offend Americans, but there's no way an American can do a convincing English accent like that.
I think it is a fact that most British people are better doing American accents than Americans are doing British. There's exceptions, obviously. But I think it's just in general that we consume a lot more American media than they consume British. Like, because we're brought up with a lot of it. Because you can't avoid Hollywood.
No, it's the biggest film market in the world, and
Yeah.
like they're not.
I think that's the ones that I can think of. I'm not sure about best cast, like best cast films.
I know.
Because I think, I'm just thinking of something that I've seen recently, but Raging Bull is one. I'd say it's Robert De Niro's best performance. Even better than Taxi Driver. I don't know if it's a better film. I probably like them both the same.
Is his performance better than Taxi
I
Driver?
would say so.
Okay.
Honestly, like, you have to watch it. He's just amazing in it. It's Joe Pesci's first major film, I think. Yeah, he was great as well. Yeah, it's such a good
I'll
film.
have a look at films I reviewed recently just to see if there's any in that.
Mm-hmm.
High School Musical. That was cast pretty damn well.
Facts.
Yeah. Grown Ups 2. No.
I don't know about that.
I think Napoleon Dynamite was. I can't see any of those actors as anything other than.
I think that's the problem. Because if you look at what's his name? John Heder. I think that's his name. I've seen him in two things, and I've seen him in Blades of Glory, and I've seen him in Napoleon Dynamite. I can't see him as anything other than those two roles. I'll always think, oh, that's the guy from those two films. And I think he's pretty much stopped acting. It's a shame.
I had a look at his Wikipedia page when I was watching Napoleon Dynamite like every day,
Mhm.
and he's done
Mhm.
quite a bit of voice work. I'll have a look.
Yeah, he does have a good voice for it. But then I haven't seen whoever played Pedro in anything else either. A lot of them I haven't. I saw, um, what's the girl in it called?
Oh, I don't know. Oh God.
The one who drinks 1%
Oh,
milk.
I don't actually know.
I saw her in a terrible made-for-TV Alice in Wonderland film as Alice. That's all I've seen her in.
Okay, I'll go on
That's great.
I'll go on the cast. What's her name? Deb. Deb. That's
Deb. Yeah, that's it. Oh, that's such a good film though.
what's she been in actually? I'll have a look. She was in Corinna, about a widower who hires a nanny to care for his daughter. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh,
I don't think I've seen any of the other ones. Should we have another question?
yeah. Let's have another question. Don't have my photos open.
We'll have a couple more and then we'll go to an hour and a half, I think.
I'll get
And
some
that'll be a
questions
good
from
time to round it
Snapchat,
out.
just to
Okay.
spice things up.
Okay.
If you could act as any role, who would you want to be?
Oh, like in history?
I just think any role conceivable. I don't think we should limit it to just film. We could have TV and theatre as well, because I'm thinking a
Okay.
theatre role.
Yeah. That's tough. Yeah, one of the films that I think would I'm thinking from a film perspective, but I've got a couple for theatre as well. One of the films that I would think would just be so much fun to act in is playing Peter Sellers' role in Doctor Strangelove, because he plays three characters. He would have played four, but he got injured. So I think he got injured, so he couldn't play one of the roles. But he plays a mad scientist, like an army person, and a pilot. And I think just having the sort of versatility to play all those roles would just be so much fun. Like getting to do all these different things in one film. I'd love to try that. It'd be tough. I'd love to try it.
I've got
But yeah.
a couple. I was like I don't know. I'd love to be Danny Zuko in Greece.
From Greece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on
That'd be quite
the
fun.
stage. But as well, most of mine are to do with music or musicals. I'd love to be whatever Jack Black's character's name is in School of Rock,
That'd be fun.
because he looked in that film. I watched Karsten Runquest's video essay of it on the perfect scene from that today, and he just looks like he's having the most fun in any film when he's in School of Rock, and I just think that would be incredible.
Yeah. I'd say it's definitely Jack Black's best. In my opinion.
Pretty
at
good
least.
in The Pick of Destiny.
I haven't
Oh,
seen it
it's
actually.
good. It's good.
I saw him in
I saw him in Gulliver's Travels, and it was it's one of my least favorite films ever, to be honest.
Although he's pretty good in Kung Fu Panda. I haven't seen it since the
Oh,
first
yeah.
one came out, and I've not
Yeah.
seen any of the other two.
No, the Kung Fu Panda movies are really good. Looking back on them, especially.
Yeah. And as well,
Uh,
I'd love to do voice acting work, but there's no particular role I'd love to do.
I would love to play Gene Kelly's character in Singing in the
Yeah,
Rain.
that's fair.
I'm especially annoyed because for the theatre company that I used to be in and I left this year because I'm obviously leaving to go to uni, we got split up into a younger group and an older group at one point for 1 year. In that 1 year, my sister, because she's younger, she got to do Singing in the Rain, and I got to do a made up play because we couldn't afford a
that's
proper
right.
one. Well, the younger group got to do the best musical of all time and one of the best films of all time as a stage show. And Gene Kelly's character is So good.
I'd love to be the. I don't even know the actor's name, so I'm gonna have to look for it.
And what?
In Singing in the Rain.
Is it Donald O'Connor or whatever his name is? My sister played him. My sister got to play him, yeah.
No, because
That'd be such a
Make
good
Him
role.
Make Him Laugh is possibly my favourite song from the film.
Make Him Laugh is an amazing song. I don't know, there's so many great songs from
It's
that.
just such a tight film.
It's one of my favourite films of all time.
It's my favourite musical. I haven't watched
Easily,
that many
easily.
musicals, but I listen to a lot of the soundtracks when I'm
Yeah.
just walking about the house or cycling.
It's my favourite musical film. I really like Guys and Dolls as well. I think that's an underrated one. I did get to act in that. That was good. When it comes to plays, Dear Evan Hansen, probably. My sister's going to love that I said that.
For just plays and not musicals. The characters we played in our drama exam last year, they were incredible. I'd love to be Hanny again.
I didn't like my role that much, to be honest. I feel like you got a really good part in that one, but I didn't have much room to do anything. I really liked the play, but I think if we got to do more of it, I really liked doing Glengarry Glen Ross though.
There's an entire scene in the play where my character gets to box a kangaroo, and I would have loved to do that for my exam. I might have got more marks if I had just biffed a kangaroo for 3 minutes on stage.
In my advanced higher drama exam, I got to do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and it was just so much fun. It's my favourite play I've ever done just because it's chaos. The film's really good as well. It's got Richard Taylor and Elizabeth Burton in it. It's like a great cast and a really good stage play as well.
The play I did for one of them was I can't even remember the name, but it was Harold Pinter play,
Oh, I know.
and it's really annoying me that I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But I played Goldberg, and he was such a fun character to play around with.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna look him up and see the birthday party. That was it.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah,
you
because
doing
I got
that.
to scream
I think.
in my friend's face. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Oh yeah.
And if it hadn't been in that play, I would have just been looked at as a psychopath. But
I missed doing drama in school.
That's like the main thing I'm gonna miss.
Yeah, I feel like if it wasn't for drama and our drama teacher as well, then I wouldn't have gotten into film either. Like making films and writing about films. I feel like it's all sort of stemmed from
we wouldn't
that.
have made Scandi Reviews if it hadn't been for.
No, because we were all in our drama class in S5. That's probably the thing that I miss most about school. Because for context, we've just left.
Yes, we haven't given that context. We've not given a
we've
lot of
left-
context.
Yeah, we've left school.
We've just chatted about
Yeah.
the
Sorry
Scandi
if you,
Boys.
You've missed some of sorry if we've left some gaps in a lot of stuff we're talking about, but I feel like you could probably fill in the gaps. We're very new to podcasting, so this will get more and more streamlined as it goes
Well,
on.
we hope, and
we hope.
as it goes on, hopefully I'll upgrade from headphone mic to a proper mic or a headset that works.
Alright, one last question and then we will...
Which isn't a question, but it's Source Reviews said it's not really a question, but could you talk about Sir Ian Holm? Which I think is only necessary since...
Yeah, in case anybody didn't know, legendary actor Sir Ian Holm died yesterday, I think it was.
For context, we're recording this on the 20th of June.
Oh yeah, it'll be like a week from now. But from recording this, he died yesterday. You'll know him from he played Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings movies. He was in Alien. He was in Chariots of Fire, which the main scene of that film was recorded about 15 minutes from where we live.
And he was just he played a lot of Shakespearean roles as well, and
Yeah, he was really big in the stage as well, wasn't he? I think he won an Olivier Award.
He
I
did.
can't remember
He
what
did.
for.
Because I've only really seen him in Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit films, so I had a look yesterday, and he won an Olivier Award for a Shakespearean play.
Yeah, I think that's so impressive because I think that's harder than film
Yeah,
acting.
yeah.
Definitely. It's a different skill, so be able to like master both of them is so impressive.
But
Yeah.
I haven't actually watched that much of his work, but I'm hopeful that to remember him, I'll
Yeah.
appreciate
It's a
his
bit of
work
a-
more.
Somber note, but yeah, rest in peace, Ian Holmes. And yeah,
Thank you, everyone. If you did finish the podcast, for listening.
yeah, thank you so much.
We're not quite sure how often these will go up, but we'll try and make them as frequent as possible.
If we can, we can try and record every week or two. That's what we're going
We've
for.
got
I
nothing
think.
going on.
Yeah,
We're
very
all
much.
in lockdown, so it should be fine. So
Yeah.
I really hope this was okay. This is a new skill. We've not done
yeah,
anything like
I've
this
never
before.
even
But
I've been on camera like once before, so this is like completely different. That we've just been talking for an hour and a half, but
yeah.
If you did feel like clicking on this podcast and just listen to us ramble about stuff that we're interested in for an hour and a half while you're doing whatever you're doing, then thank you so much. And yeah, we just really appreciate everyone if you did check this out.
So we're putting this up on SoundCloud and YouTube. I don't
Yeah.
know how SoundCloud works. I don't know if it's a follow or a subscribe, but if you could do that, that would be fantastic. And then obviously with YouTube, just subscribe and like, and then give us some constructive criticism in the comments,
Yeah.
so we
And-
know what to improve on next time.
Yeah, and if we manage to, then eventually it'll go up on Spotify as well. So we'll have an audio version and a video version, because I know that when I like to watch podcasts, I watch it or I listen to it while I'm doing other things. So the audio version might come in useful there, or if you want to see our faces, then check out the version on YouTube.
Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you everyone, and we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, hopefully. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.
Bye.